Okay, this is for my pre-calculus class. It's the Law of Sines and Cosines Lab 2. And this is the last problem on the lab, which is number 11, which I actually, in all honesty, scanned in from an old Algebra 2 trig regions because my kids did this. It was like one of the bigger questions and they aced it. And it's like, you know a lot of stuff already before you start. So let's kind of go through this step by step. We're going to label everything. I'm going to use red to label. So I have DC equals 10. So they have that here already. Okay. AG equals 15. So AG is 15. That's there already. BE equals 6. So that's there. FE, got to find FE. FE, where are you, FE? There's F. Oh, there's FE is 10. Sorry, I had to look for that. And then measure of angle ABG is 40. So that's right here, ABG. So right here is 40 degrees. They gave that to us. Then they gave us some cool stuff. So I'm going to use blue for this. BE is congruent to ED. So when I do BE, that's this right here. That is congruent. So I'm going to do a little chicken mark to ED. Okay. So that means these two pieces are the same measure. Then it says GF, which is this one right here. I'm going to use a different color for that. GF is congruent to FB. So this is congruent to this. Okay? All right, that's good to know. So let's write down anything we don't know. So the only thing is when I use this marker, it's kind of big. So I'm going to make this blue again so I can see that 6. Okay, so now I look at this and say, what do I already know? Well, first of all, I know in here is a right triangle, right? And then I know this is 40 degrees. I don't know these two angles, but I know here's 40. And then here I have a right triangle. I know this is 6 and this is 10. I'm like, wait a minute. So before I even get it started finding everything, I always tell everybody, you know stuff about triangles that you didn't even know. So look at this. If this is a right triangle right here, I know this leg is 6 and the hypotenuse is 10. Can I do the Pythagorean theorem? Okay, so over here, I'm going to do 6 squared plus, we'll do b squared equals 10 squared. Okay, when I get all done solving that, this is 36 plus b squared equals 100. B squared equals 64. B is 8. And I knew it was going to be 8 because I knew it's a 6, 8, 10 right triangle. That's one of the Pythagorean one of the Pythagorean triples. So I know that right here, FB is 8. And if FB is 8, guess what else is 8? GF is 8 too. So I already found that. I haven't done, that's just math I've known for a very long time. So I can set that up. Okay. Now I think, do I know anything else? Oh, yes, I do. Look over here. If this angle right here is 40 and in between is 90, I know what that angle is because those three make a linear pair. Okay. So if I take, I'm just doing all the work I know over here, 180, subtract the 40 degrees, subtract the 90 degrees, I end up with 50 degrees. That means this angle right here is 50 degrees because those three, 40, 90, and 50, are a linear pair. So that's cool to know too. Okay? So far, so good. Also, if this piece is 6 and this is congruent to here, isn't this piece 6 as well? So you're like, wow, this I know more than I thought. So this piece is 6, this piece is 6, this piece is 8, and this piece is 8. Okay, so that's before I even start anything. I know all that stuff. Okay, now it wants me first to find the measure of angle A. So let's find measure of angle A right up here to the nearest tenth. So I always like to call this A and B. So here's A. They want me to find the measure of angle A. Now A is in this triangle here. Okay, and if you look at it right here, I was like, wait a minute. I can actually do, because it's not a right triangle, so I can't do SOHCAHTOA. They didn't see any right angle here. See how 15 is opposite the sine of 40? And I know this whole side here is 16 now, don't I? And if I'm looking for angle A here, that means I can do the law of sines. So I can say 15 is to the sine of 40 degrees as 16 is to the sine of A. So then I'm going to cross multiply. 15 times the sine of A equals 16 sine of 40 degrees. Divide by 15, I have the sine of A equals 16 sine of 40 degrees all over 15. Now what am I going to do? Because I don't really care about the sine of A. I want A, and you guessed it, we're going to do the inverse sine. So you're going to do inverse sine here. Thanks for playing. Inverse sine here. And you can literally just put that in your calculator just like that. When you do, you get A to be 43.286. And they said to the nearest tenth, so I'm going to say that's 43.3 degrees. So I'm happy about that. 43.3 degrees. Okay. Now, so let's look at what we have here. So now I have this angle here, this angle here. Aren't those three angles going to add up to 180? So I can actually tell you what angle G is going to be. So let's do that work. I'm going to do 180 minus the 43.3 I just found, minus the 40. I can find out that angle G is going to be, that's an angle thing. Let me try that again. I want to make it nice and neat. Angle G is going to equal 96.7 degrees. So this is not a right triangle. Okay? That's cool that I know that. So I know this side's 16, I know this is 15, and I know all three angles. That's cool. All right? All right, so let's see what else they want us to do. It's kind of like a puzzle. That's what I love about this. Now it wants me to find BC. So I'm going to call BC X right here. BC is right here. See how it's over here on the side? So I got to kind of get over there and see what I know in that triangle. So I said, all right. Oh, wait a minute. I have a 10 here. I have that. I can figure out BC is if I only knew what angle D was. Or let me see now. Do I know angle C? You know what? What if I did 50 is to the sine of 10? Let's do law of sines. I can find angle C first, and then I can find angle D to find that. Let's try that. Let's try that. Oh, I'm excited now. This is like a puzzle. So I'm going to do, ready? I'm going to look for that. So I know 10 is to the sine of 50. So I'm in that triangle, 50 degrees. And what I'm going to find first is angle C because I know this whole side here is 12. As 12 is to the sine of C. I know it's not exactly finding that yet, but we'll get there. Okay? So now I'm going to cross multiply. So I have 10 times the sine of C equals 12 times the sine of 50 degrees. Divide both sides by 10. So I have the sine of C equals 12 sine of 50 degrees. And divided by 10. Okay? Now I'm like, you guessed it, I have to do inverse sine here, guys, because I got to figure out what C is, not just the sine of C. Thanks for playing. Put that all in my calculator. When I do that, I get angle C to come out to be 66.8171, which is roughly 66.8 degrees. So I'm very happy because I said nearest 10th. So C here is 66.8 degrees. Now you're like, why did you do that? Because now, look, I have the 50 and the 66.8. I can tell you what angle D is. Then we can do the law of sines again. So I'm going to do 180, subtract the 50, subtract the 66.8. And when I do that, I get angle D to equal, that's 66.8. That looks weird. 63.2 degrees. Okay, so angle D is 63.2 degrees. That's a 6. When I try to write little, sometimes it looks weird. So I'm going to do a 63.2 degrees. Now, look, guys, I can do a law of sines and find that. So I can do 10 is to the sine of 50 again, because remember, that's what they gave us. And I'm just using it again as, jeepers, that looks awful. Let's try that again. 10 is to the sine of 50. Let me try that again. As, ready, x is to the sine of 63.2 degrees. And then I cross multiply, okay? And when I do that, I get 10 times the sine of 63.2 degrees equals x sine of 50 degrees. And then I'm going to divide again. So I got x equals 10 sine of 63.2 degrees divided by the sine of 50 degrees. Look at all this work. Don't we look smart? So now I know x is 11.7. And that's what they want us to find, or BC, if you will. It's 11.7. So I hope you kind of enjoyed that as much as I did, where I went through and used all the clues. You could have actually here as well, after you did the law of sines, you could have done the law of cosines here to find this as well. So right here, you kind of had a choice. I just want to put a little star here. I did the law of sines again because I'd like to, but look, I knew this side was 12. I knew this side was 10, and I could do the law of cosines and find out what that would be, and I would have got the same answer. So I hope that helps, and I'm going to be doing this in class, so that was fun.